Oh, hello, YouTube. Today on The Naughty Librarian, we are going over Mayfair Witches Season 2, Episode 3. I'm just going to say it right now. This episode is a complete waste of time, and I am very frustrated with it right now. Like, if you took all of, the important events out of this episode and just put those together, I think it would be about 15 minutes long. There's not a lot going on here. It's the same thing over and over and over again. Essentially, we're just watching a really shitty family house party, and then Rowan being really ineffective and low-key full of shit. It's rough to get through, but you know what? We got through it, okay? So let's just talk about what actually happened in this episode. So we start off with Lasher in the park. He's trying to wash off Alicia's blood because he just killed her. And he happens to see this stranger. And guess who it is, everybody? It's Felix. And in case you haven't watched season 2 of Interview with the Vampire, this character was introduced in the last bit of the last episode. So it's not a very big character, but essentially he is a punk rock millennial fledgling who is hanging out with Lestat. And now that Lestat is presumably off trying to live his rock star fantasy, he has left Felix behind in New Orleans. So here's Felix just sitting in the park minding his own business, and in comes Lasher, this complete unknown. So Felix approaches him and asks him, "Hey, bro, what are you? Because you smell insane." Anyway, they kind of just sit down on a bench and have a talk. And Lasher's trying to piece together these fragments of memories he has of his previous life before he was a ghost. And he tells Felix that he remembers praying in a cold stone church, so he thinks he might have been a priest. So spoiler alert in the books, Lasher was a full-on priest. In fact, right after he was born and became a full-grown man baby in his first life, he was immediately just given to the church. The priesthood was honestly probably the best choice for Lasher because, the whole vow of chastity thing, it was just keeping him away from the female populace. And you know what? He was actually good at being a priest, okay? He was known as a healer, and the people really liked him. And I don't want to reveal much more about his backstory yet because I know we're going to get into that in a future episode. But honestly, this whole "oh my god, Lasher was a priest" thing is the most normal part of his backstory, okay? Because it gets wild. Wait till you find out who his birth mother is. What? It's... buckle up. But anyway, back to the show. Felix, he hung out with Lestat. Lestat kind of taught him how to be a vampire. So Felix has his own philosophy on what it is to be a supernatural being. And since Lasher is also a supernatural being, Felix just kind of talks to him like he's a fellow predator. He's like, "Hey, bro, guilt is for humans, and we're not humans, so we don't have the same rules apply to us. We're here to cull the herd. That's what we're supposed to do, man. Live your best life." And this is the first time anyone has ever given Lasher that idea, so he's like, wow, maybe I should be evil and kill people. Way to be a bad influence, Felix. This is gonna turn out poorly. But in the meantime, Cortland, he's no longer a statue, and he is calling up the entire family to get them over to the Mayfair house. And mostly he's using the pretense that hey, if you come over, you can meet Lasher. And Cortland tells Rowan that Lasher is like a god to this family, okay? If I start telling people Lasher's evil and you gotta come over to the house, first of all, they're not going to come to the house. And second of all, they're not going to believe you. And third of all, they're going to turn on you. Which in theory makes sense. However, it is Cortland saying this to you, Rowan. Why on earth are you taking his advice? And I'm just frustrated with this whole situation. The whole Rowan-Cortland power struggle for family control thing never happened in the books. And that's mainly because Cortland accidentally got pushed down the stairs by Carlotta and died when Rowan was a baby. Cortland's not even alive right now in the books, so they're just adding this character in, and it's just boring. Cortland, he's just this insecure man baby with daddy issues. We have seen this a million times. Cortland's misogyny isn't even a unique thing, and it makes him an incredibly undynamic villain. And frankly, I found him more interesting as a statue than him fighting for power in the family. It's boring, move on. Now, Rowan's whole plan for this Mayfair family house party is that she's going to tell them all she's making a protection spell for them to get them in the door. But her real plan is to have as many Mayfair women as possible all in one location, because their collective smell will bring Lasher to her. And then once Lasher arrives, Rowan is going to enthrall him, which is similar to what Lasher did to her last season. Essentially, you'll be trapped in the house, but in a dream world. Now, Dolly Jean is the one who's been helping Rowan brew up this potion, right? And she is the voice of reason in this situation. She's like, girl, your plan is so flimsy. There are literally a million ways it could go wrong. Hey, but don't listen to me, right? You're too busy taking advice from fucking Cortland, you dummy. I'm paraphrasing, but that's the tone she has. But while Rowan is setting this party plan into place, Cyprian and the Talamasca are also setting their plan into place because they want to capture Lasher. So Cyprian and Albrecht are kind of like on a stakeout across the street from the house, just waiting for a glimpse of Lasher. And Albrecht tells him that they have a full like strike team in place as well, because as soon as they capture Lasher, they're gonna leave with him immediately to like Europe to go to a safe house. And Cyprian's like, what? Why wasn't I told about any of this? What safe house? And Albrecht's like, I asked to be able to tell you that, but like they told me I can't. In the book, Cyprian's like counterpart, Aaron, was also being froze out of the investigation because the Talamasca believed him to be too close to the Mayfairs and would likely interfere in their plans. Because the Talamasca's plan was just to capture and study Lasher, not to like stop him from murdering all of these women. Honestly, this whole like Talamasca conspiracy is a really long story. So like the TLDR version here is that they already knew about the Taltos, the species that Lasher is, and they wanted to capture Lasher so they could make more of them. And I'll just leave it there because we'll likely get into that in further episodes. But yeah, they know what's going on, and they're not telling Cyprian. And while Rowan's doing her thing and Cyprian's doing his thing, Lasher is just wandering the streets of New Orleans. I think he made friends with some dogs too, which was pretty weird. They're just following him around for some reason. And then he comes across a familiar smell at a bar. So he goes in, and this bar is owned by an Evelyn Mayfair. So we're in trouble. Lasher, he sits down at the bar, and you know what he orders? 2 big glasses of milk at a bar. Ew. Since Lasher's at this bar that's not really all that close to the Mayfair house, Rowan can feel her powers getting weaker. She can't even light a candle right now. So people start showing up at the Mayfair house, and Jojo arrives for the party with a bunch of snacks, and she brings Daphne, who is Moira's kid sister, Alicia's daughter. And she's like a lost kid right now. She's like maybe 14 or so. And her sister's dead, her mother's dead, her dad fucked off a long time ago. What happens to her now? She's scared. So Rowan goes out and talks to her and kind of makes friends with her and says hey, I know what you're going through. When my mom died, it was really hard. Just kind of relating to her on a level that not a lot of people can right now. And Daphne really opens up to Rowan and starts to trust her. But here's the thing. No one should trust Rowan this whole episode, all right? She is lying to literally everybody all the time, and she keeps saying it's for their best interest, but is it? Or is it helping you achieve what you want, Rowan? Because if she really had the family's best interests at heart, she would want to kill Lasher, but she doesn't. Her plan is to trap him, because if she kills Lasher, she loses her powers. If she traps him in the house, she gets to keep them. Mind you, Lasher could probably escape a trap. So realistically, she's doing half measures yet again in life. But let's move on with this family house party, okay? You know who's there to greet them when they arrive? Cortland, because he's acting as the host of the party, which automatically sets him up as an authority figure there. It's so fucking dumb to trust this guy. I am baffled by the fact that Rowan keeps letting him get away with things, and it's other characters who have to tell her, hey, he's fucking you over right now. And in the book, mind you, Rowan and Cortland had nothing to do with bringing the Mayfairs together. Rowan was missing and Cortland is dead. So in the book, it was mainly Gifford's husband husband Ryan and her son Pierce, they're like the family's like legal and financial advisors, and they're the ones who call the family together, because if all of them are in one place, they could help protect all of the rest of the women in the family. Because Lasher's on the loose and they all know it. Like in the book, it wasn't like a secret that Lasher was killing these women. Everybody knew and no one was Team Lasher. But back to the episode. As the evening moves on, more and more people arrive, and only like a few Mayfair women are still unaccounted for. In particular, Evelyn, the woman who owned that bar that Lasher's at right now. And the thing is, they have called Evelyn multiple times, but Evelyn will not come to the Mayfair house if she knows Cortland is going to be at the Mayfair house, because they have beef. And Evelyn actually is a character in the book, but her character in the book is so different than the show version. I don't think they're going to do the book version of events, or if they do, they're going to change a lot of things. Here's like a rundown on Evelyn. Because what had happened is that Cortland Mayfair had an affair with Barbara Mayfair, his cousin. And we all know Cortland's a piece of shit. He didn't care that his kid with Barbara, Evelyn, was being locked in the attic by her family because she was a really powerful witch and she could see the future and they were all scared of her. And when Julian finds out that Cortland had a kid with Barbara, he loses his shit. He goes over to Barbara's house to rescue Evelyn, and he brings Lasher with him to fuck him up if they try something. So Julian rescues Evelyn from the house and he brings her back to like live with him. And she tells Julian the secret that like her family wouldn't let her tell anybody, and it's this prophecy about what we need to do in order to defeat Lasher once and for all. And it was the last thing that Julian needed in order to finally put his master plan into play. And then things get wild. Evelyn and Julian then proceed to have a sexual relationship with each other. Mind you, Evelyn is 13 years old at this time, and Cortland is her father, which makes Julian her grandfather. Like I've said this before, their family tree is a broom handle, all right? There's no branches. It's just everybody in the family fucking each other. But regardless of all of the gross stuff going on here, Evelyn does love Julian. He did rescue her after all. And like Julian visits Evelyn in dreams as like a ghost, and he tells her like things she could do to protect the family, including saving this really old Victrola record player that Julian has like hid his ghost inside of. The same Victrola that they very suspiciously zoomed in on playing at the party right now in the show. They never actually say what the beef she has with Cortland is, but like, I don't know, if she's like in her 40s in the show and like Cortland's in his 60s, then like it might be possible that Cortland's her father still, or maybe he's the father of her son David. I don't know for sure. I'm speculating, but like knowing Evelyn's backstory from the books, likely something with parentage going on here. And speaking of Evelyn, she's still at her bar and Lasher's still there drinking his milk. And Lasher's been there for like a few hours at this point, and he finally decides like, maybe I should take my new friend Felix's advice and just do whatever I want. So he like literally grabs Evelyn's hand and he starts like kind of sweet talking her to like, you know, seduce her into having sex with him. And Evelyn is not having any of this. She's like, hell no. And she slaps the shit out of him. Go Evelyn, right? Like I was impressed. And then even though she slapped him and kind of, you know, tells him to fucking leave, he doesn't. More time goes by. It's closing time at the bar. And she's like, bro, we're closed. You gotta get the fuck out. But Lasher's trying out this whole evil persona thing. And he kind of goes full sex predator mode for a hot second. He attacks Evelyn and she stabs him with a fork. And then her son, David, you know, he comes running and he has a baseball bat and he starts hitting Lasher. But the thing is, Lasher is a supernatural being. He is quite fucking strong and he heals real fast. So he just knocks that bat away and he chokes David. Mind you, David has at least 100 pounds on Lasher, so he's real strong. And while he's distracted, you know, choking David, Evelyn has time to like break a bottle and shank him with it. And it's getting stabbed by Evelyn that really seems to break the spell here, because Lasher realizes, you know what? I don't like being violent. I don't like being evil. And he apologizes and just leaves. And then cousin Alonzo Mayfair shows up at the bar looking for Evelyn, and he finds out what happens. So he calls up Rowan. He's like, hey, Rowan, Lasher attacked Evelyn and her son. You better watch out. So it's at this moment that Rowan realizes she's going to have to start telling the family the truth for multiple reasons. One, she has a conscience, okay? She's not a completely evil character. She does feel bad about this. And also, there's a survivor now who can tell everybody what happened to her. Because, like, everyone at the party right now doesn't know a thing about Lasher being evil. They're all under the impression that Lasher's just missing, and because he's missing, the family has been left unprotected, and that's why these women are dying. So she like gets everyone's attention, and she's like, listen, you're not gonna like this, but it's Lasher who's been killing all of these women. He just attacked Evelyn. We need to stop him. And out of all of the guests at the party, Daphne is the one who takes this particularly the hardest, because Rowan made her feel safe, and now she's finding out that she lied. Her mother didn't die of an injury. She died because she was murdered. So she tries to run out of the house, and Rowan tells Jojo to stop her. So Jojo's trying to stop Daphne at the front door. Rowan yells at them to not leave the house. And whoopsie, she accidentally just cast a spell on them because they fade out of existence. She put them in a thrall. So now they're trapped in the house in a dream state. You know, the thing that she wanted to do to Lasher. Whoopsie daisy. But on the other hand, her magic is really, really strong right now. She wouldn't have been able to do that just hours earlier. So that means Lasher must be very close. So Rowan goes outside, and who's walking towards her in the middle of the street? It's Lasher. And it's very dramatic. They're face to face. And Lasher is a lot different than how he was maybe an hour ago, okay? He dropped the evil persona, and right now he's hurt, and he's scared, and he's alone, and he just wants his mom. It's a very human instinct that he has here. Rowan has a choice in this moment. She could do the right thing, which is to kill Lasher and stop him from terrorizing the family. However, if she kills him, she will lose all of her powers. But on the other hand, Lasher's also there saying, please help me, Mom. He's kind of preying on her maternal instinct towards him a little bit. So instead of killing him, she hesitates. And it's right at that moment that the Talamasca shows up. Like an extraction team shows up with their big black vans, and like Cyprian's there. He has his magic knockout gas, and Rowan decides to protect Lasher. She literally jumps in front of the magic gas and gets drugged herself. So the Talamasca strike team grab Lasher, throw him in the back of the van, and they all speed away, all while Rowan is laying drugged in the middle of the street. And then that's the end of the episode. And honestly, it's a great end of the episode. It's well shot. It's all from Rowan's POV, where she doesn't really understand what's happening, but she knows Lasher's being dragged away. And honestly, like, I wasn't 100% sure if the Talamasca were actually going to capture Lasher in the show, because in the book, they don't ever capture Lasher. And I don't want to like spoil things, but like the reason why involves a hammer. So it's like, if you know, you know. I really want to see that hammer scene in the future, so hopefully they're gonna do it. So overall, I was quite frustrated with this episode. It was a lot of spinning its wheels. It was a lot of Rowan just like being really ineffective and waffling on her decisions, going back and forth. And I get it. It's a very human thing to like react emotionally to things, or not know all the answers and not know what the best decision is. I get it. But like the fact that she's like trusting Cortland at all, or even let him at the party, is fucking wild, okay? These are just bad decisions for the sake of furthering the plot. It doesn't make any sense, and it bothers me. But on that note, let me know in the comments down below, what did you guys think of this episode? Are you also bored with Cortland's storyline? Because like, I've had it with him. I'm done. If you like this video, make sure you give it a like. If you want to see more videos, make sure you subscribe. And if you want cool exclusive content, including early access to videos or a book club, you can consider becoming a channel member or a patron. Links for that are in the description down below. And on that note, I'll see you guys soon. Goodbye.